Let's move on and talk about another match which affects both the bottom and top of the table. Burnley taking on Manchester City. Let's hear from both managers, Sean Dyche and Pep Guardiola.
You can't put an exact number on it until after the season. We're certainly not overthinking the rest of it as a collective. We've got to make sure we're right for each game. I've always looked at that. I've always talked about it, one game at a time mentality. As a staff, we have to look beyond that, of course. But each game has its focus, and we'll certainly be focusing on Man City. You know, you don't go into any game overthinking the win, draw and loss. You're going in to win. You know, our mentality is to set up a team that can win the game. And then we park that one and we move forwards. It's a big challenge against Man City and the likes, not just them, but the superpowers, as I call them. They're a fine side, without a doubt. Technical prowess, tactical understanding, pace, all the rest of it. You know, we've beat these sides in the past, but it's very difficult. So I don't think our season's going to be made on this game, but it's helpful if you can get a result of some kind. But I think performances are key. We've got to come out of a break. A long break and make sure players are performing, because I think that's going to give us strength going into the remaining games. But we'll take it on. That's what you have to do in these games.
Not the first time we are here. We have been before, and I prefer to play 8 games in April than play 4. That means we are there. It's a dream. It's a dream be here. We will try to do the dream come true. So what do you have to do, Burnley? And after Atletico, and after Liverpool, and Atletico again, and we will see what is our performance. How is the situation every game? We're going to try to do it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens, especially in Premier League. Still, we have 8-7 games to play, and little bit is different because it's knockout and FA Cup after Atletico Madrid away. So also there's a final 2. So we will see. So it's so nice to be here. I love it. I love it. I like it, and yeah, we will try to compete what we have done so far.
And I imagine Pep Guardiola thinks it's so nice to be facing Burnley this weekend, because if you look at their record in their last 9 meetings in all competitions, I mean, look at that record. They've won every single one of them. They've scored 32 goals and conceded just once. So despite what happens with Liverpool at lunchtime, even if Liverpool win, can you still see Manchester City going back to the top of the table after the 3 o'clock game, Wes?
I don't know. It's a weird one for me. I think this won't be a straightforward game, despite the stats you pointed out and the records. Everything points towards a definite win for Man City. But I just look at Dyche and how he manages his team and what he's produced over the seasons. I think he's capable of causing upsets, and records are there to be broken. I just know, I got a funny feeling something might quite not go straightforward in this game, and it might not be as easy for Man City as we all predict. So we have to wait and see. But yeah, the stats and everything looks like it's a bang on Man City win. But I don't know. I think Dyche and I think Burnley are in such a position at the moment where, in that relegation zone, they have to produce something spectacular, so a bit of magic, and it could come against Man City.
Flo, it's interesting because whenever, we talk to lots of other previous pundits that have faced a Sean Dyche Burnley side in the Premier League before, that tends to be what comes out. It's the manager. The manager's been there, done it before. He knows how to keep the side up. He knows how to keep them defensively organised in order to get results. So why haven't we seen that yet? Why are they still down there?
Yeah, it has become a bit of a cliche, I think, with Burnley, is that we know that they are hard to beat, they're well organised, they're hard to break down, and they're a very good unit. They play together, they're united, they've got a brilliant manager who's good at motivating them, but they just don't create a lot, and that's kind of become part of their identity, unfortunately, and they've brought a brilliant, huge forward, what is he, like 6'5", Wout Weghorst in, and he's just not getting the supply. I mean, I was reading a piece in The Athletic today that he's averaging 1.5 shots a game, but he's only had 1 header chance, and that's sort of his bread and butter. If you look at the size of him, you'd also think that's Burnley's bread and butter, looking at the size of him, but they don't have the quality of players to put what he needs into the box. So I think that's the issue with Burnley. I kind of agree with Wes. I don't think it's going to be straightforward. I still do think City are going to win. But we've seen Burnley cause problems at Arsenal. We've seen Burnley cause problems against Chelsea this season. In a lot of those games, they haven't come out with much. I think they did get a point against Arsenal, but it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. But I still think with all of those sides, I mean, Wes, you'll know, is a defender as well. Eventually, I think your brain just gets exhausted trying to cope with it. And I think Sean Dyche mentioned there the technical ability of these players feels like when you're playing a Man City, there's only so long you can hold out before you're just mentally and physically exhausted trying to watch the ball kind of track the players, and then, you know, they'll find a breakthrough eventually is what I think will happen.
But them selling Chris Wood to Newcastle as well, I mean, arguably they were a relegation rival at the time. I think people, because Newcastle have gone on a good run, they forget that. But we talk about them converting chances. I mean, Chris Wood's record in the Premier League was fantastic for Burnley, and I can't quite get my head around why they sold him, because especially when they're in a relegation battle, because where are the goals going to come from?
Maxwell, Cornet, Wout Weghorst, they're the players they'll be looking to, won't they? But as Flo's pointed out, sometimes it can be quite frustrating for strikers that play in a Burnley side.
I think especially in this game, you know, you're not going to see much of the ball when you're facing a Man City side. So, you know, there's going to be slim opportunities for Burnley to, you know, have any attacks on goal, never mind get a goal. So it's a really tough ask. But, you know, like Flo said, you know, Burnley's a side that's very organised, very disciplined, you know, with the manager behind them. You know, they've got a way of playing that works sometimes, and things have not quite clicked so far. Wood's gone. Strikers are not getting much opportunities in front of goal. But I think, you know, if Burnley can frustrate Man City for long periods and, you know, use their strengths in corners or set pieces to try and nick something. I think that's the way Burnley will approach this game.
Well, we saw Crystal Palace frustrate Manchester City last time out in the Premier League. That was their last Premier League match, and it was that goalless draw. Do you think there'll be any kind of hang-up from this game still, Leanne?
No, I don't. I was just going to ask the guys. I feel like I'm the only one that thinks City will just win this one eventually, but I did get it wrong the other week as well. So I still
you're not on predictions today, Leanne,
no,
for that reason.
I know, I'm never wrong, Jules. But I don't know. I think with City, they have a structure, a pattern of play. You know, whether it's Mahrez, Sterling, they're playing without a number 9. You know, Jack Grealish is in there. People have questioned, is Jack Grealish having a good season? I still think he's playing well. Yes, he's not hitting the same numbers of goals and assists at Villa, but he's still doing the job that Pep Guardiola is asking of him, and that's all he can do. But yeah, I think City will win this one pretty comfortably. But again, I could be wrong. I don't think Burnley have enough going forward, and I don't think they will see any hangover from Palace. But maybe Burnley can, you know, grow upon that. The fact that Palace took points off of them, Palace have taken 4 points off of them in 2 games, so it can be done.
Psychologically, how much will it have affected the Manchester City players in the last couple of months, seeing the way Liverpool have just reduced the deficit at the top of the table? Because in January the 15th, the points gap was 13, and now we're down to just 1 point between the sides. Will that be affecting the players, Wes?
I think we're all surprised that Liverpool's, you know, come back into this title race. You know, I think the players probably in Man City thought, you know, it's probably wrapped up by Christmas time, January times, and yeah, look where we are now. You know, so on and see off all challenges, and it's business as usual. I think for Man City and Pep. The pressures of Liverpool catching them up shouldn't affect them. And yeah, I think it could go down to the wire. It definitely could go down to the wire. And I think when Liverpool face Man City, that's going to be a very, very interesting game. Yeah,
do you think that's where all eyes are heading now, Flo? Next weekend, next Sunday, that's the big game between Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to that game. And I think it might not be season defining because we've seen that other teams can get points. Obviously, that the result against Palace, City's game against Spurs as well. So it won't completely define the result of the season, but it's a huge one. I mean, it's going to be so dramatic. We know that the two teams, when they face each other, there's a lot of good history there in terms of the quality of games that we see. Even if the results not being the most dramatic at times, and two of the best sides in the world battling out, it's going to be a brilliant game.
Game of the season, isn't it? I've arranged my entire Sunday plans around that match, Leanne, next weekend. I'm going to have my roast dinner before.
I think Man United Leicester this weekend's a game of the season. Don't you think, Wes? No, I'm disagreeing. I'm not being biased. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it from a neutral perspective, because what we've seen last season, I think sometimes the big teams cancel each other out. You know, they don't really go for it, but both these teams play counter-attacking football. You know, they're going after it, and hopefully it'll be a high-scoring game with lots of quality on show, because both teams have absolutely amazing players.
All right, well, just for you, Leanne, after the break, we will focus on Manchester United against Leicester. You get to see Leanne and Wes go head-to-head as we preview that match, which is on the way for you. A big test for Ralph Rangnick's side. More on that one to come after the break.